Alhamdulillah! Welcome to Science 4, where learnings become easy once we explore. I am your science teacher, Teacher Nabs. I am inviting you to the wonderful world of science. So, come and join me in our journey to discover the secret of the world together. For today's journey, we will be looking into the different materials in our home and discover one of their special properties. What is this special property? We will classify if the materials have the ability to absorb water. Get ready, young scientists. Prepare your learning module, your pen and paper, for you will be using them in our science journey. In your house and even in school, you will see different materials arranged properly by your mother or your teacher. Why do you think why they arranged it properly? Correct! For easier classification. Since you are at home because of pandemic, look at your surroundings and list on your paper the different materials that you can see. You have 10 seconds. Are you ready? Let's do it! Have you listed more than 5? Very good! Alhamdulillah! Looking at our surroundings, we can say that we are surrounded with different kinds of materials. Some of you may have written these materials like your pen, your paper, your table, or chair. Well, you are all correct. Alhamdulillah. We can find different kinds of materials in our surroundings, like the food you eat, the clothes you wear, the places where you live, the water you drink, and even the air you breathe are all matter. Do you still remember what matter is? Matter is anything that has mass and volume. Mass is the amount of material in an object, while volume is the amount of space the objects take up. The different materials you see around you are made up of matter. Some matter come in different shapes and sizes while some do not. Why does matter comes in different sizes and shapes? That is because matter comes in 3 forms: the solid, the liquid, and gas. Do you still remember these 3 forms of matter? Let's have a review. Solid are objects that we can touch and see. They have shape, color, texture, and size. Liquid are objects that we can also touch and see. They change their shape depending on the container. Gas is another form of matter. It cannot be seen, but it is around us. We can feel it. Gas has mass and occupies space. In this lesson, you will be learning more about matter by discovering its special property and how to classify materials. One way of classifying materials is by observing if certain material has the ability to absorb water or not. Look at these materials. These are commonly found at home. Can you identify the property by which they are grouped and classified? What property do the tissue paper and sponge have in common? Very good! Alhamdulillah! A tissue paper and a sponge can absorb water. When you say absorbed, it means to take in water through its tiny holes or pores. Porosity is the property of a material to absorb or hold liquid like water. Porous materials have plenty of tiny holes called pores where liquid can be quickly absorbed. You can see tissue paper and sponge, which are good materials for absorbing water. In a sponge, for example, its tiny holes or pores absorb water. When you squeeze the sponge, you are forcing the water or liquid get out of the holes. Now, are you ready to discover, young scientists? Good! Make sure you are ready because it's activity time! Young scientists, this time you will be discovering different materials and classify whether they have the ability to absorb water or not. For this activity, you will be using these materials, namely a small basin that is 3/4 full of water, a paper towel, a piece of bread, spoon, a plastic cup, and a facial tissue. I will be soaking each material in the water. Then, classify whether the material can absorb or cannot absorb water. Write the materials in the appropriate column. Are you ready? Good! Let's do it! Paper towel. If you have written paper towel under the column can absorb water, you are correct. A paper towel has its tiny pores. It is a porous material and it absorbs water. Therefore, it has a special property called porosity. Plastic cup. If you have written plastic cup under the column cannot absorb water, you are correct. A plastic cup does not absorb water. It has no pores. That is why it does not have a special property called porosity. A piece of bread. If you have written a piece of bread under the column can absorb water, you are correct. A piece of bread has its tiny pores. It is a porous material and it absorbs water. Therefore, it has a special property called porosity. A facial tissue. If you have written facial tissue under the column can absorb water, you are correct. A facial tissue has its tiny pores. It is a porous material and it absorbs water. Therefore, it has a special property called porosity. Spoon. If you have written spoon under the column cannot absorb water, you are correct. A spoon does not absorb water. It has no pores, That is why it does not have a special property called porosity. If you got 4 out of 5 correct answers, you are science terrific! We are surrounded with all kinds of materials in our environment. Today, we learned that different kinds of materials have their own properties like porosity. Porosity is the special property of material to absorb liquid like water. Cloth has a special property of porosity. It absorbs liquid. Porous materials have plenty of tiny holes called pores where liquid can be quickly absorbed. A tissue paper is an example of a porous material. Non-porous materials have no holes through which liquid can be absorbed. They cannot absorb water. A spoon has no holes or pores. It is an example of a non-porous material. It cannot absorb water. That's all for today, young scientists. I hope you learned and had fun in Science 4. Thank you for joining me in our short yet exciting science journey. Watch out for more special properties of matter in the next episode, only here on Siyap ko Kapaganad at www.kapaganad.com.